does percent relate to the whole? Think about this question during the lesson. A percent is a rate in which the first term is compared to 100. The percent is the number of hundredths that represents the part of the whole. What percent of people prefer bright white toothpaste? You can use the percent symbol to represent a percent. 50% can be written as 50 100ths equals 50%. What does 50% mean? "50% means 50 out of 100, or exactly 1/2. How would you describe the number of people who prefer bright white toothpaste? Use ratio language and then symbols. 7 out of every 10 people who use toothpaste prefer bright white, or 7/10. Here is one way to solve the problem. Use a grid to represent the percent. How many equal parts are shown in the grid? How many shaded squares represent 7/10? There are 100 equal parts shown in the grid because percent is out of 100. 70 shaded squares represent 7/10. Another way you can solve the problem is with number lines. Use number lines to represent the percent. Why is the top number line labeled to 10? Why is the bottom number line labeled to 100? The top number line is labeled to 10 to represent the ratio 7 out of 10. The bottom number line is labeled to 100 to represent the percent out of 100.
Percent is always compared to 100.
You can also use an equivalent fraction to find the percent. By what number should you multiply the numerator and denominator of 7/10 to find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100?
Select your answer.
Multiply the numerator and denominator of 7/10 by 10 to find an equivalent fraction with a denominator of 100. 70% of people prefer bright white toothpaste. Now you know how percent relates to the whole.
Jane won 9 out of the 10 video games she played. What percent of the video games did Jane win?
9 out of 10 video games is how many she won. So let's write that as a fraction. 9 out of 10. And it says what percent did she win? So as we see in the example, percentages are out of 100. And so our equivalent fraction, if you will be out of 100. And so we would add here what we need to create this equivalent fraction. So 10 times what equals 100? That's going to be 10. So I'm also going to multiply 10 to 9, which is 90. So the percentage that she won was 90% of the games.
Each line segment represents 100%, but the segments are not the same length. Use equivalent rates to find the percent or part of each line segment from 0% to points A and B.
Point A is halfway along between the 0 and the 2 inches, so that's 50% of the way, 50 out of the 100%. Then you have point B, and that is 1/4 of the way to the 100%, because you have 1 space here, 2, 3, and 4. So that is why it is 1/4 of the way. So that is 25, like 4 quarters equals $1. So 25 out of 100 is equal to 25%.
Which point is at 50% on the line segment? Explain.
We have a line segment from 0 to 4 inches and 0% to 100%. It asks the question of 50% of this number line. So first, let's identify how many parts of this number line we have here. And so we have from 0 to 1 inch is 1, from 1 inch to 2 inches 3, from 2 to 3 is 3, and then 3 to 4 is 4. So we have 4 parts to this number line segment, and it asks 50%. So 4, half, 50% represents half. Half of 4 would be 2. So that means we need to look at 2 of the parts. So that will put us at 2 inches. And what point represents that 50%? That will be C as the 50% point between 0 and 100%, or 0 and 4 inches. So C would be 2 inches.
You can use percent and mental math to find the length of a line segment. Part A. If length of segment CD represents 10%, what is the length of a line segment that is 100%?
We're going to explore this by dragging the CD, line CD. So we have here 1, another one, oh, I gotta leave that one there. Maybe drag this, oh, there we go. And we keep doing this until we get to the end of this segment. And it's not going to be perfect. My dots don't exactly line up, but you get the idea. Alright, and so we've copied that line CD until we got to the end of, and it says what is the length of a line segment that is 100%. So each line CD, right, is 4 inches. So we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 of these 4-inch segments. So 10 times 4, instead of adding 4 10 times, you would multiply 4 times 10, and that would equal 40 inches. So 100% would be 40 inches.
Part B. If length of segment EF represents 200%, what is the length of a line segment that is 100%?
Once again, we would drag a copy of EF line, the 1-inch segment, and line segment EF represents 200%, but they want to know what is the length at 100%. So we know half of 200 is 100. So if we were to look at this, I put up 1, 2, 3 copies of that 1 inch. That's about halfway, and so if I added 3 of those line segments, 100% of this line that represents 200% would be 3 inches.
Part A. If length of segment CD represents 10%, what is the length of a line segment that is 100%?
We did this together already.
Part B. If length of segment EF represents 200%, what is the length of a line segment that is 100%?
And we did this one together, so they're just explaining it again.
If segment CD is 4 inches long and represents 100%, what is the length of a line segment that represents 25%? Explain.
Okay, so CD is 4 inches long and it represents 100%, and they're asking about 25%. So 25% out of 100. Okay, we talked about this in one of the first examples. 25 of 100 is 1/4 of the whole, like 4 quarters in a dollar. So half is how I'm going to solve this. Half of 4 inches is 2 inches and 2 inches. And then 50% is half of 100. 25% is half of 50. So if I do half of 50%, I now have 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch, 1 inch. So the length of 25% of the segment would be 1 inch long.